Welcome back, y'all, and happy Monday. Today, we're going to be talking about Tennessee's 2025 defense. We've talked a lot about the offense. I think it's time for us to go ahead and focus on defense. As always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. All right, y'all, we're going to start right here. This is how I think Tennessee's defense is going to look in 2025 versus the run and versus the pass. I'm looking at this, to start the season off with everybody healthy. That's how I'm looking at it. Obviously, some of the rooms are going to be a little bit more shorthanded, and we can't have people getting injured. If people get injured, then some of those rooms are going to go from where they're at to like way, way, way worse because it's going to be a big drop off with a lot of youth coming in. So we'll start off with the run because if you want to have a good defense, we all know it starts with stopping that run first. As far as Tennessee's tackles, I think that they'll be good this year. Love those first three guys, but after that, it's just a lot of unproven stuff. So it's probably going to take a step back from last season when, we had several guys that were older players and that grown man strength inside of the trenches. That's huge. So I've got them at good. I've got number two, our ends. I have them at great. I think that we might take a step forward as far as stopping the run with our ends this year. I mean, maybe not too much of a step forward because they were good last season too, but I think that they're going to be very, very good. Next, linebackers. I think that they're going to be great stopping the run. For cornerbacks, I think that they're also going to be great. We've got some of the best run support cornerbacks, I think, in the entire country. They get off blocks well. They maintain really good leverage. They take great angles, and they will tackle you. They might not be the biggest hitters. Sometimes if they get a kill shot on you, they will definitely take it. But, they're just more very sound fundamentals with their tackles. And I think that goes for everybody in their cornerback room. So coming on over to Star, I've got that at good because we know the Boo Carter is going to be great. But who's backing him up? I'm not sure. I'm thinking it's going to be one of the, kind of like cornerback types of players. So it should also be pretty good there. But how are they going to be getting off blocks? Because playing at star, you really have to get off blocks first. Tight ends, offensive linemen, and all of that. Whether it's with your speed or with your strength, sometimes you have to use a combination of both. Last at safety, I've got them at average. The reason for that is we have one veteran there. Everyone else is new, pretty much. They're younger or they're new. So safety is not just about hitting, which we got guys that will hit you, but looking at players like Caleb Beasley, to me, he's not a big thumper. I think he's probably going to get the start because I feel like he would understand what to do, maybe better than some of the other guys. But, stopping the run playing at safety, there is so much that goes into it. It's a mental aspect, it's a physical aspect, and there's just so much there. So I've got that at average, and that would definitely be one of the spots that, man, it's average if we're fully healthy to start the season off. All these spots are probably going to get better as the season, goes on. But I just think that if we lose one or two players at safety, that room's going to look really, really bad, honestly speaking. So going on over to the, versus the pass, I think that our tackles are going to do a great job there. Probably going to take a step forward compared to what we saw last season. Now, that might sound crazy because we had Omar Norman Lyde, who had the highest pressure rate of all tackles in college football last season. But I think that as a group, as a unit, we have nothing but pass rushing guys. So, guys that also, like what it's all about, they can stop the run, but they definitely have to twitch to get after that passer. So I think that that's going to be great. As far as number two, DNs, I've got them at elite. I think that they're going to be outstanding. And for our linebackers, I think that they're going to be good. Now, they could also be great. It just really all depends on how it looks. The reason I have them at good right now is Arion Carter hasn't done really anything over the course of spring. He's might be a little bit rusty. So we'll see how that looks, but he should be better in coverage. We'll take a look at that as we, go throughout this film. And actually, today's film is going to be focusing on coverages. That's what we're going to be talking about. And I'll point out the coverages that I think Tennessee's going to run more of or less of in 2025 based off of our personnel and all of that. So next, cornerbacks, elite. I mean, I think even from week one, it's going to be elite. We can definitely play man-to-man coverage. That's one of the strengths of this defense. I can tell you that right now. We've got a lot more players that can play man-to-man coverage. And then at number five, I think that the stars are going to be great. Again, talking about Boo Carter, whoever backs him up, it doesn't really matter. Like the coverage aspect of it, where you can play man, that means that you can play great defense. Now, the zone stuff, which we will get into, that could be a little bit of a problem for some of these newer players. But at number six, safety, I've got that at average. Again, I think that the man coverage could actually be better than it was last season. But playing at safety, it's not just about playing man. I think that Tennessee might want to have those guys doing some different things in different situations, just because we're gonna have to. Like, you can't let them play man all the time, or you're gonna get into some really, really bad spots. So with that being said, it's time to start going through these coverages. And the first one that we're going to take a look at is two-man. I'll show you how that looks. And we only ran it 0.2% of the time last season. We literally only ran it twice. So we're going to look at both of the times that Tennessee ran it last season. So this first one, this is just showing you what cover two-man looks like. You're going to have your two safeties playing deep, playing a deep half, both of them, right? So they're playing two deep halves. Then you've got man coverage underneath that. I think Tennessee's going to run more of this next season because whenever you have some younger safeties, it's typically easier to say, hey, y'all just don't get beat deep. Y'all just play deep, okay? Make sure that nothing can get past you. And we've got guys that can really play man, like I just talked about, not just our outside guys, so cornerback or star, but I think also linebackers. I can see our linebackers playing a lot more man. And in this clip here versus Florida, you'll see what I'm talking about. So the coverage is sticky tight everywhere. The only problem with playing this is that quarterbacks can run. And we're going to be facing mobile quarterbacks, I think, every single week. So that's the one issue with this. It's also not great versus really any sort of a run. But if it's an obvious passing situation, I actually like this for Tennessee. So there's a whole lot of space here, but you see that the safeties are staying over the top. It's not a difficult coverage for those safeties. And yes, the quarterbacks can kill you. Now we're going to see it again from this angle. And on this first one, I think that this is David Hobbs flashing here, playing a tackle. You're going to see him get to the quarterback, but he's not able to close. There's something else that I think Tennessee needs to work on this year is closing with our linemen. So this is another cover two man, right? And y'all already know how that looks. This is another thing that really sucks is that if teams run all these rub routes, which is what Georgia's going to do, someone's going to get open. So up at the top, you're going to see Arion Carter. He just kind of trips, really. He just kind of trips up, and he's not able to make that stop necessarily. That pass was actually called. So here, what you're seeing that Georgia did is, this is a four-man rush coming from Tennessee. They've got a five-man, obviously, offensive line. Plus, they're going to have a running back left in to chip. So they've got a lot of numbers versus Tennessee's pass rush. And this is a three-step drop. So this is part of the problem where Tennessee wasn't getting pressure on Georgia because they're doing things like this. But obviously, if Tennessee is going to play more of this cover two man, the front four's got to eat. That was the main thing I wanted to try to highlight, just kind of going through with how the pass rush looks and all of that on that previous screen, is that I do feel like this season, Tennessee can just rush four. If we can just rush four, then on that back end, we can do a lot of different things. So we'll see how, everything plays out there, but you can see how everything looks from this end zone copy. And AC pretty much just got tripped up. So now I want to talk about cover zero. We ran this 4% of the time last season. I think that we might run some more of this because we have safeties that I feel like are going to be better in man-to-man coverage compared to last season. So this is what cover zero looks like. Okay, it's man everywhere. Everyone's playing man. If they're not playing man, then they're going to be bringing pressure. This is a great defense to get some pressure with, and that's why I think Tennessee really should have ran more of that versus Georgia. We talked about the lack of the pass rush. If we would have run more cover zero versus a quarterback that can't move, then we would have killed them. So I think that might be part of our strategy coming up this season. But that big red area, that means that there's no one behind this coverage. There are no safeties playing over the top, none of that. So it's dangerous, but the pressure is going to get there. So most of the time, I would say probably like 85% of the time, if you're running cover zero, the pressure is going to get to that quarterback. You're going to get him off the spot. Now, it's weird that Tennessee runs this versus a quarterback that can actually move and not as much versus one that can't move. But right here, what you're seeing is Tennessee has a six-man pressure versus a five-man protection. A lot of times, Tennessee would run cover zero versus empty. I think that makes sense because you have better numbers to get to the quarterback and you're playing really tight coverage. So as the pressure's getting there, they have nowhere to go. All right, so we will have one unblocked person, and actually you see two or three people are flashing. James Pierce has got to hold that edge, but since we have these cornerbacks that can play like this, that can come up and make these types of plays, that feels great too, right? So this is a great play just to make sure that they can't make this catch. So now we're actually going to see cover zero versus Georgia. And we're going to be able to get the pressure, but this is something else that can kill whenever you're blitzing, period. But that's screens. Screens can most definitely get you into some trouble. I think that our defense actually does a good job of not. I don't think that we gave up a first down here. So you see, obviously, we're bringing more pressure than they have blockers, but they just set this up perfectly. I don't know if this was a check or what, but, there were probably some tells in Tennessee's game that they knew exactly where to go. And honestly speaking, they're probably cheating. That's just what Georgia does. But I think that, looking at Ricky Gibson, so let me show you where, Ricky Gibson, he's the guy who just misses this tackle. But you see that our cornerbacks, like I said, they're willing to come up quick and to slow things down. So that's all that we're doing here. We're slowing things down. I mean, of course, you want to try to make the tackle, but slowing it down is good enough. And then you've got your linebackers, okay? So you got Arion Carter who can come over. He has really good speed, and he can finish this up. So that's what you're looking at, right? Like you're just looking at looking at a team that I think is built to play more zero. We thought that we'd play more last season, but this year I think that we're built even more so to play it. We might have to play it. So next is cover two. We ran this 8.3% of the time last season. And of course, I want to show you what that looks like. I think that we might run more of this. Now, the only thing about cover two is it can get a little bit tricky with those safeties. Again, my biggest thing is what's going to help our safeties out. I feel like we can run pretty much anything else for our cornerbacks and for our star players. Safeties where we need to try to mix up the coverages and things like that. So this is how cover two looks, right? You're going to have your safeties playing over the top. We just looked at that cover two man. It's the same thing for these safeties, right? There's nothing that really changes for them outside of the fact that in some of these situations, right, like posts, right? So like just looking at some of these empty areas, and I'm going to highlight this with the red. So this right here, this is an empty area in cover two. That's kind of a problem if teams have really good route combinations. So that's one spot, okay? And then I'm going to show you some of the other spots here. This is a spot, okay, in this area. You can see where there's some empties or where there's some empty spots inside of these zones. This is another spot, but pretty much outside of that. And then I would say like some underneath drags and things like that. So some things that are kind of crossing the field in this area, that could get to you. And then also, this is a defense that typically is easier to run on. For all the coverages that are even numbers, it's easier to run on those coverages. The odd numbered defenses, it's more difficult to run on those coverages. That's why Tennessee really ran a lot more one high stuff. Cover one, cover three. We'll get to that shortly. But I think that Tennessee could run some more of this compared to last season. And honestly speaking, I think that we'll see more teams trying to utilize this based off of how offenses operated last season. Most teams were playing more cover three. Most teams were more one high. But I think that we'll see more two high. We saw the Buckeyes do that in their playoff run. They ran a whole lot of Tampa two. They had great success with that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Tennessee do this. Our starters should be able to pick up on some of the different route combinations. Just talking about those safeties that could put some pressure on them, that could, turn this into, hey, this is not a zone anymore. Now you've got to play man. But you can see how Tennessee does a good job, with the coverage early on. And what happens with this is you always need that pass rush. I want to try to highlight this as much as possible. Getting the pass rush, especially with just four, with any coverage is going to work versus the pass. So Tennessee should be fine, where we can mix some things up, and we're going to have some pressure coming off of the end here. And this is actually Dom Bailey. So we're looking at, highlighting guys who will be back next season. The quarterback doesn't have time to go through all of his reads, and that's what you want to do. So now we're seeing cover two. Again, this is where it can get kind of tricky at, because now we've got teams like Florida, and pretty much every team, they're going to do this. If you're playing zone, they're going to sit it down in those empty spots inside of the zone. So here, they pushed our coverage off. I don't think that we did a great job. So this is Arion Carter. I'm going to highlight him in this gold color or in this orange color for you. So this right here, this is Arion Carter. Tennessee did a lot of Tampa 2. And I'm not quite sure if this is 100% Tampa 2, but he's dropping very, very deep. He probably shouldn't have dropped it that deep. So whenever you drop this deep, then you've got these little holes here. So and I'm going to also highlight one of the safeties here so that y'all can see that as well. This right here, this is Will Brooks. So you see how Will Brooks is playing up closer. He's kind of closing in, right? Actually, I think he's playing in a hook right here. So it looks like we've got a cornerback here that's playing over the top. So sometimes you can switch up. Doesn't always have to be the safeties playing deep in the cover two, right? But either way, this is where things start to get tricky at, because Tennessee does like to mix things up, right? Like we don't want to just show you, hey, we're running cover two. This is two safeties playing deep. We'll give you a lot of funky looks and all that to try to throw these quarterbacks off, and rightfully so. Everyone does that. You pretty much have to do it because it's too easy if they know exactly what you're in. So this is where I think that we could probably get by with our starters, really probably our first three, but after that, we're talking about true freshmen. So this is cover six, okay? Tennessee ran this 11% of the time last season. Cover six, as we will see, it's a mix of cover four and cover two. So if there's a white line that's splitting this field up, on the top side, we're playing cover two. On the bottom side, we're playing cover four. All right, so this is a defense that Tennessee ran a lot versus Arkansas. I think that we did this because we didn't really know how to stop them. Like, you're going to run more cover six. I feel like, anyway, it's more of a, we don't really know what the hell to do, so we're just going to run this cover six and see if we can throw this offense off. Just because there are so many holes, like the holes that you have in cover two, those are all there, and then the holes that you have in cover four, those are there. and these is this is an even coverage. It's going to be easier to run on this too. So this is one that I don't know if we'll necessarily run more of. I'm hoping that we can versus a team like Arkansas that likes to run those teams. Hopefully, we'll run more man. That's what I would like to see. Or cover two. I think the cover two would be perfectly fine. But yeah, I mean, you can see that if you're not, and we are doing a good job on this one. Everything's covered up, so we're able to get some pressure. That's Jackson Moore getting there. That's some late pressure. But now this is where you could get into some problems, like we talked about with teams like Arkansas that loves to run these seams where they're going to overload you. This is the cover two side, and this could be an issue versus cover two. Like we said, the holes that are in cover two are in this defense on one half. The holes that are in cover four, that's going to be on the other half. So here, you can overload and you can run basically two verts. That's putting pressure on the safety that we have highlighted here, right? Because he has to choose, hey, am I going to take this inside guy or that outside guy? Well, typically, you want the linebackers to try to carry that as far as they possibly can. But see, Arkansas does a really good job here because that cornerback, and I'm going to highlight this for you, okay? This cornerback right here, if I can get to him, all right there, okay? Typically, he would carry this outside route that's vertical. He would carry it, but he can't because Arkansas sends someone to his zone. So now he can't carry it. So that's, things like this can get you kind of like throw it off, right? Whenever you're playing cover sixes and all of that. But, like we always say, if you can get the pressure, you can run anything. And, we get a little bit of pressure here, but it's just not enough. It comes too late. We've got people wide open, and look, we're able to make a good stick there, but it doesn't really matter. That's why you can hit hard. That's not really going to matter. All right, so now this is quarters coverage. Tennessee ran this 15.8% of the time last season. And I think that we might. So this is the thing about quarters is that it's one of those defenses that it can turn to man. It can turn to something just totally different based off of what the offense is doing. You kind of want to have veterans playing safety back there for this, but this is what quarters coverage looks like. You're going to have four guys that have a quarter of the field. And actually, we've got the cornerback highlighted here up at the top. He's going to end up playing man because no one else comes to his zone. And actually, you can see that there's this one wide receiver on his side, so he can man it up. Now, looking everywhere, we're doing a good job. Everything's covered up, okay? So everything's covered up. This is how you want it to look. And I don't know if Tennessee would want to run more of this. We ran, obviously, a lot of it last season, but we will see. Just because we've got the cornerbacks, we've got the safeties. They can play man, but they have to understand the different route combinations. And as we go to this next play, y'all will see how it can get a little bit more, I guess how it can get kind of tricky. So right here, what's always open versus cover four are digs. Pretty much always open. It's hard to stop it, especially with a pretty good, with a pretty good route combination. And Alabama's got one here where they're spreading things out. This is not so much on the safeties. I think that maybe the linebackers could have bit down or they could have played back some. They could have carried that dig over just a little bit more. So you see Jeremiah T-Lander. He's going to get better, right? I'm gonna highlight him right here. Let me get to it. So boom, this is Jeremiah T-Lander. This is Power T. He's doing a pretty decent job here. He really, at this point, we weren't doing the best job with our linebackers finding the guys that they're covering. Yes, you got to watch that quarterback, but you also, if you're playing the middle zone, you got to find those guys. You got to look around and find them. So, we didn't do a great job of that, but we did get better at it as the season went on. So that's why I think that the linebackers are going to be fine in coverage. But, in some of these situations, it's just, it's going to be tough, I think, on those safeties. Now, this is cover one. Tennessee ran this 20% of the time last season. And we'll show you how this looks here. Cover one is going to be man-to-man with one safety playing high. So you've got a safety playing over the top. They'll typically cheat to one side. Right here, we're cheated to the field side. But you just want to try to stay over the top, and whatever comes vertical, right? That's what they're going to try to help out with. So, the most vertical routes, or the most dangerous routes, whatever. So he's roaming that middle. You see that we've got very tight coverage everywhere. I think it's going to be even better than it was last season. So right here, we've got Jackson Moy, I believe, who's lined up at that nose, and he's able to get some pressure here. And actually, he's able to get the sack. So like I said, that's going to help out tremendously. Now we're playing cover one again here. Let me pause it. Playing cover one versus bunch sets, that's the most difficult time to play it because You've got all these crossing routes. You're going to have rub routes and all of that. But Tennessee does a brilliant job of it. And here you can actually see, and y'all probably, you might not want to see this, but this right here, this is Kobe Thomas. Does a beautiful job coming up and playing coverage here. He's not going to be with us this season. Do we have another guy that can do it? Now, like we said, whenever you're playing pretty much any cover one, cover zero, any sort of a man, it's tough versus mobile quarterbacks. If you can't get the pressure, because you see everyone's back is pretty much turned to the quarterback, so they're going to have room to run. The coverage is great. Coverage is perfect, but you can still give up some, pretty decent sized plays or some really big plays versus quarterbacks that are even more mobile. This is Graham Mertz. He's not the most mobile guy. We're going to have to face up against Lagway next season. He's even more mobile. So this is cover 3. And we ran that 37% of the time last season. And I'm going to go back and let this thing roll through. All right, so as far as cover 1, because I don't know if I said it or not, but I think that Tennessee's probably going to run more cover 1 coming up next season. That's a good thing because we've got the linemen that can get to the quarterback. Hopefully, we've got the people that can play that coverage on the back end. But I would rather see more cover 0 than cover 1, because with cover 0 you can bring more blitzes, but you can do it with cover 1 too. It's just you're gonna have some openings if you do it that way. So this is cover 3. Cover 3 just means that we have 3 players playing in a deep third. So we talked about quarters where the deep part of the field is split up into fourths. Now it's split up into thirds. Tennessee ran this the most last season. There's different variants of it, but I think that we'll continue to run a good amount of this. I think that we want to probably try to stay one high. Like we said, cover 3 is a one high look. It's very good versus to run. My only thing about cover 3 is that a safety is going to be pretty much playing inside of that box area. So I'll show you here. It would be Will Brooks. So Will Brooks is playing in the curl to flat. So pretty much where he's standing at, and then in the flat area up to the right. So like right around that 40-yard line, that's his area. He's going to try to hold on to the curl part of it first. Then he works himself out to the flats if someone comes out there. So just having the, safeties having to play inside of the box more. I feel good about, I feel good about Andre Turrentine. I think that Caleb Beasley is going to be fine. But everybody else, we just don't know. Like we said, they had to take on offensive linemen and all of that. So that's where it starts to get tricky. But they're going to have to get it figured out because we will have to play a lot of cover 3. Now, this first look is what actually beats cover 3. These deep crossing routes and some of these kind of like shallow crossing routes is going to be going to the route that's in yellow. And we do a really good job here with our cornerbacks of carrying that. So yes, that is a zone, but it can turn into man in some of these situations. And this is why it pays to have really good cornerbacks, because they are going to help. So if this is just a pass situation, like we talked about, one of our safeties having to come up and play that curl to flat, having to play inside of the box versus to run and all of that. If you have, a situation like this where a team is trying to force the football deep and you've got these really good cornerbacks that can stop it, even though they are playing zone, that's where it pays off to have really, really good corners. So I think that the cornerbacks are going to hopefully make us right in a lot of these situations. And you can see we actually blitz there. We actually blitz with the pressure. It gets there kind of late, but again, man, those cornerbacks bailed us out. So this is another situation, and who I have highlighted here is safety Christian Charles. He does a really good job on this crossing route here. Again, he's not with us. I'm not highlighting these guys because they're not with us necessarily, but understand that having these veterans, it's going to pay off. Like this is, I'm curious, will we have some young guys that can do what Christian Charles does here? But we'll see it again from this angle. And actually, who I have highlighted here, I think that this is James Pierce. He's going to get some pressure. You can't block him with the tight end. I think everyone knows that. But going back to Christian Charles, that's who I want to look at right now. So he's right here. He's number 14. I'm not quite sure why people are still able to wear 14 at Tennessee, but that needs to be done. So this is Christian Charles. Watch what he does on this crossing pattern. Again, this is a very tough route to cover. You see he turns his body. He knows what's coming. That's just route recognition. That's just film study. Will the young guys do this? Yes. I mean, they can physically do it, but they've got to get inside the film room. And if they can do that, then Tennessee, man, at doing things like this, our defense is going to be just fine. This is my biggest concern is with Tennessee safeties. We lost 2 guys that we looked at today. We said, man, look, they look perfect in a route combination that kills the coverage that the coach called. So that's where the players can help to make you right at. So, for any of the safeties that might be watching this or, whatever, y'all got to get inside that film room and y'all definitely have to study and y'all going to have to get ready to daggone rock and roll. All right, so that's it for the film session. And I'll just say this. I feel like, again, Tennessee's defense is going to be built to get pressure on the quarterback and play some tighter man-to-man coverage on our back end. And if we don't feel very comfortable doing that all the time, I'm expecting more two deep safety looks just to kind of keep those safeties out of the box and just to keep them over the top and to minimize maybe some of the errors that we might see early on. But again, I think that that might be a positive thing. We played so much cover three last season and it worked for us. That's great to stop the run and all of that. Any coverage can work if the front seven can eat, especially that front four versus passes. Tennessee's gonna, our front four is going to eat. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out. But the biggest concern, the biggest questions with our safeties, if our safeties step up, Tennessee has a very, very good shot to be in most games. And then we have to look at the offense and everything we've already talked about. Can the offense get us over that hump? But that's it for our video today. Hope that y'all did like it. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And leave your thoughts with me down in the comments section. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace. Thanks for watching. And please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel because that keeps us growing inside of the YouTube algorithm. And if you did like this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.